save myself.
Wow, welcome to a very special video. We're filming this intro right now after we already been inside the building behind us. We are right now in a Falterbach that you know from AMG, but behind us we just had a very exclusive tour at HWA. Now, initially the plan was to show you their latest project, the HWA 190 EVO, but it turned out to be much more. And this is why I want to include the whole thing for you, for the real petrol heads, car enthusiasts, and you name it. Because this is something very special. Before we start with the tour, first a quick history lesson. Most of you guys should be familiar with this car and also with, let's say, this brand, and potentially, if you know the history of this particular car, also with this. We are at HWA. And what is HWA? A quick 30-second history lesson. In 1967, AMG was founded. I believe it requires no introduction. By Hans-Werner Aufrecht, Erhard Melcher, and the G stands for Groß Asbach, which is the birthplace of Mr. HWA. Anyway, that was in 1967, and then between 98 and 99, AMG was sold to Mercedes-Benz. Back then it was Chrysler-Daimler or Daimler-Chrysler. Too many details, but more importantly, HWA was found, and they were still closely involved in the development of AMG products and a lot more. And we are here today at HWA. So we have here 3 cars and some trophies, and that's about it. Because it's not intended to have a look at the company. So we're gonna have an exclusive tour to seeing what the company has been doing in the last 26 years and what it's doing today. So we're having a nice tour with Gordian.
Hey.
Martin, how are you doing?
Fine, you?
Good. So, what are we doing? Was my history lesson correct? It's a bit early in the morning.
Almost.
Almost.
Groß Asbach is not the birthplace of Hans Werner, but it was actually the first place well, not really the first place, but that was a place where they founded the company.
Yes.
And no, everything.
Everything else was
right.
good.
Yeah.
Good.
Definitely.
Well, perfect. So, what are we doing today?
Yeah, we would like to show you around, and we definitely would like to show you our newest product, which is the HWA EVO.
Nice.
And since we actually are building up the first 3 prototypes, I think some of your fans have been probably seen already the show car we have built.
Yes.
But the prototypes now are on a nice stage to show you. It's not totally finished yet, but it's in a nice process to have a look at. And yeah, that's what we would like to show, because we definitely think it is still not clear what kind of effort we put into that project.
Yes, exciting, because of course you have been doing lots of projects like this. Actually, yesterday at dinner, you gave me this. So just to give an impression, Lapo, could you show all the cars that HWA has built, has been helping to build, develop, and engineer? Did you know that? Just go quickly through them. Ooh, yes. All the DTM cars, the GT4s, the GT3s.
Actually, this car is right here.
Yeah, the Fittipaldi project car. Apollo IE. Actually, of this car, the only Nürburgring lap video is also on my channel to be found.
This car is actually here today, so we might
Oh,
see it.
nice! The Dragon. Yeah.
Part of the Dragon.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's the name of the car.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, the owner called it like this.
Yeah.
Well, the portfolio is quite impressive.
It is. It is. We can go about this for a very long time. And yeah, my favorite. That's the Brunch and Camper Van special.
Yeah, I
The
think
cleanest.
these ones are not really known, or let's say being shown yet in a way, but having developed the most cleanest car in the world is also something we can be proud of.
And this,
Yes.
I think it's a fan favorite of everybody.
Probably.
Yeah, the SL actually is also quite interesting. One of the first resto mods. Quite a while ago, a customer asked HWA to rework a car with modern technology. So that's
my favorite.
Yes. Now we're approaching almost my favorite. Almost. Yes.
There you go.
SL65 AMG.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was actually a time when we actually expanded the company. Also, you will see later on part of the company is being built 25, 26 years ago. That's where we are. But then there is a part of the company which has actually been built because of the development and the production of the 350 cars, which we have done together with Mercedes at that time. And yeah,
Nice.
We'll see the facility and
Let's have a tour then.
Yeah, let's have a look. Oh,
History everywhere, right?
yes.
So that's these are the old design and sponsorship models.
Yeah. No way. Oh my God.
What you see here at that time, actually no Mercedes stars. This is an exception because the client put it here.
Okay.
But normally these cars, the Hammer cars, they didn't have any badges. So at that time it was clear that actually showing a car on an exhibition or showing a car anywhere would not be allowed to have a badge, a Mercedes badge on the car. But I think this place is perfect here to show you the prototype 2. This is already
Yes.
original EVO 2. And another original of a client actually, which is here for bigger inspection. This is kind of interesting. A lot of people who are actually buying a car, an HWA EVO, they ask us to look out for the original cars. So
Okay.
To have actually both of them.
Wow.
Yeah, what you see here is more or less prototype 2. That means, as I said before, we are building up 3 prototypes. One is more or less only the chassis at the current stage. The other one is like this one here, and the third one is almost done. We'll see it later. But here we can actually see what kind of effort we put in that car. And maybe let's go to the back first, because
Okay.
this is more or less more open right now. So what you see here is we have actually cut out quite a lot of the original chassis, and everything we installed then is completely new and being built on in a different way. So all of these is designed and calculated. I'm not sure why we have billet. Currently that's billet. Later on it will be casted. But yeah, the reason is actually having the gearbox in the back. You need more strength, and also we wanted to have more freedom on the suspension, as you might understand. So therefore, actually, the whole rear end is completely new. Also, what you see here is actually the crash structure, which is there to absorb energy in case of an accident, and which is actually mandatory if you build a new car.
And has been physically crashed. Not only simulated.
Correct.
You actually done crash tests.
Yes.
If you just say this, it doesn't give the scale of the project.
Yeah.
Because this is basically completely, it's a completely new car.
It's a new car. It's not a resto mode like how.
Exactly. This is why we stopped calling it Western one.
Yes.
It's not a Western one. It's an HWA EVO.
Yeah.
And
We use a little bit of the silhouette to actually have the look of
because
the
this
car.
is the iconic car and has a huge fan base, and this is what we're going to demonstrate.
I think the only part that I see, let's say, stock is this upper sheet metal, maybe the door.
Maybe.
Maybe,
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
no, no.
I think it's kind of the philosophy of the early DTM cars. It looks like a factory car, but it's nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm glad that we can also show you the prototype 3, which is just the chassis right now. This is more or less already assembled.
We could go there.
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
Of course.
Wow.
Yeah, but just to go a little bit more deeper, what you see here with the roll cage is only because we are testing this car as ABS and ESP with Bosch. They developed the system with us, and we required together that those cars will have bucket seats. Later on, for the normal road version, this pillar is actually integrated here in the original B pillar. So we have the same strength, and the harness is not attached on a bar, but we found a nice different other solution to have a 4-point harness. So you have actually 2 seats in the back, 2 seats in the front, and that's the later status quo then. I'm wondering what's going on here with this hole, right? So, but later
actually.
on, you see the gearbox, and on the gearbox we have the alternator, the compressor, and even the steering pump.
For the weight distribution?
Weight distribution, and also for the package in the front, because having the V6 in the front, and we install it as a front mid-engine, you even need more space, and now everything what we could get rid of on the front end, we put to the rear end.
I had a similar problem. So I designed, let's say, an alternator system for a racing car that had didn't have space at the front for the ducting, and I put the it was at the beginning of my work, so I didn't think all of the circumstances, and I put the alternator in the back. The only problem, the gearbox was in the front.
Then you don't have engine speed.
Exactly. I want to figure out later that it was a problem.
No, I mean, here we actually have the clutch in the back, bell houses installed for the gearbox, and there we have engine speed all the time.
Yeah.
And then it's okay.
Wow.
So this is the third prototype we have to build. And this gives you an impression what stays and what will be new.
Yeah.
All tubular frame.
Everything underneath, yeah, tubular chassis. Wow.
This is actually nice. You can see all the mounting points from the rear structure as well as the front structure, as we've seen it on the prototype 2. Which is
Nice.
This is 101 race car building
Yeah.
with the chassis jig. And
Chassis jig, yeah.
This is how we did it. This is how we do it.
Yeah.
But now it's road legal.
Ah.
So what you see actually, the whole floor is completely new, and in the project, let's say in the prototype 1, 2 and 3, we kind of reused existing material to actually get it quicker done. Later on, these bars, which are now kind of solid, will be different. But actually it is very important for us to have the area where the people are sitting more safe than an original one, and the chassis being developed almost 40 years ago had different approaches. So what we now have and think is state of the art is you have crash systems in front and in the rear to absorb the energy, and the internal piece shouldn't move at all if you crash.
Yeah.
So that's why we put a lot of effort here on the floor.
That's amazing. So first time I'm seeing like this kind of a roll cage for the bottom structure of a car.
And then you actually integrated also
It gives you the safety.
Of course.
Also the stiffness.
The rigidity for the drivetrain and the chassis components.
You need to have stiffness to have a high performance car.
Yes.
And
Man.
with stiffness comes also the safety.
Yeah, very cool.
The place we just showed you is very unique because, well, let's say legendary. On this plate where we just saw the chassis, each and every prototype has been built.
Okay.
So even all CLK GTRs, any DTM car.
All DTM cars that we
Yeah.
built on this.
Wow.
So it's kind of a holy place for us.
All of them.
Yeah.
This is called the test area where we,
Yeah.
where we have the secret project. So you really have a look behind the scenes now.
Yeah.
Not all the HWA employees have access to this room.
Wow. Impressive.
Yeah, as we said, this is prototype 1. All of the parts are in the prototype stage. Headlights, you see a lot of 3D printed components here.
Yep.
This is ongoing actually to identify also the fitment and maybe redevelopments. But as you see, also the front end is an integrated carbon part. It integrates air filter, housing, the door hatches, headlights. Like this is the, let's say, mindset of the car. Yeah? We would like to implement our knowledge, but also reduce the components by functional integration.
Crazy.
And please have a look at the back. Yeah, you see now.
Here we see but here most importantly the whole rear drivetrain structure with the alternator and the power steering.
So yeah, having the bell house here, also clutch and all the components. That's why what I was saying. These bells have engine speed.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. The uprights are on it.
Uprights, fully machined uprights. Very short upper wishbone to have a lot of camber gain when you have bumps.
I think we need to remember how a 190E suspension design is, because it's not double wishbone.
No, it's a multi-link axis, kind of modern out of that time. But it actually now gives us a lot more freedom and more stiffness, and and you see all the bushings and everything. This is more or less specific.
And this is classic motorsport, let's say, suspension design with the shims and the shims in the back. Can you put shims in the back?
Yeah, we can actually change the pickups. That's the goal. We can also have a look in the front, but there's already brake installed. Yeah, please have a look inside the trunk. So
Nice.
this compartment will be shielded completely. So actually you have a trunk bay, let's say, which is closed. The suspension is open to the wheel arches, but everything else will be kind of a compartment, a sealed compartment then here. But this is kind of unusual, having the expansion tank
This,
yeah.
and this is just sensors, right?
Of course,
this is,
for the
this is just
development.
the development. This is just sensor.
Yeah, of course, the prototype development sensors for
Exactly.
the data collection.
So it's all about
But that's
making.
also the question. Is there any other company doing a product like this, doing such an effort to actually also collecting data? And we believe not. So we think it's necessary because we would like to have a proper car, and therefore we also will spend 1 year, actually starting from now, testing the car.
Nice. What's the gearbox you're running?
The gearbox is a 6-speed manual, and it has a nice layout for us. It has a certain drop gear, so there could be different overall ratios being changed. It is an existing gearbox that has been proven already, so we are happy to use it.
Yep.
And we also will show it to you later on the dyno. It's a good
Nice.
fit to the
Very
overall
good.
idea of this car.
Yeah.
Here, for example, we have also a radiator system, and this is now for not just for the prototypes, but this is a gearbox radiator.
Okay.
Just to see, also it's kind of complicated what we do here, but the question is, do we need it or do we not need it? So for now, we think we put it on, and then we see the temperatures. Depends on how we push the car, but it's just to actually have a backup.
Nice.
What you see here on dashboard wise is more or less a reworked dashboard of an original car for the prototype 1 to 3. For prototype 4 to 5 and 6, there will be already the new dash, which we also will show you later on.
Will be also digital?
It will be also digital.
Okay. 3D printed gear stick.
That's actually to find out what's the feeling. You can just, now you maybe can switch the gears if you like.
Very good.
Yeah, but these things are ongoing, I guess. There is also design involved. You
Of course.
will not probably leave it like this. But
Of course. No,
now
but
we
it's
would like to have the size.
yeah. Cage going to the front towers with all the rigidity. It's basically pretty much a tubular chassis, of course, at the end of the day.
Yeah, also here we are not really trying something totally new. We are having Brembo as a partner. We are going into a direction which has been approved already. For sure, this is kind of a big system also on the rear. But again, the car is being made for having also track use, and therefore we would like to have a safety margin, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you see here is also like modular systems and new structure. So we have an integration system where we actually mount the engine on, and the whole subframe, totally new, will be mounted to the aluminium pieces which we bolt onto the original chassis. So the whole front end, as you see, is completely different to what has been seen so far.
So this is, let's say, the position on where
You see now it's kind of outboard. There is a reason why, but this system can also be changed. To be fair, we have simulated a lot and we kind of know what we want to do.
Is there a reason you didn't go for a carbon prop shaft?
Actually, it's quite long. So the carbon prop shaft in that long distance would be a very big diameter.
Yeah.
And you see it's already kind of limited by the space.
Yeah.
There's also frequencies.
Correct. You have the long distance, and then if it's not really big, you will have torsional vibrations
Yes.
as well. And as you said,
That's the main issues, and that's why the center bearing is there.
correct.
Yeah.
But it's also, if you have thin wall thicknesses of the steel, it's also quite cool. So
Yeah, and another is like during this past years, there's always been this, let's say, seeing steel as evil and carbon and aluminum is the best material,
but it's not.
steel steering suspension arms are sometimes actually lighter than aluminum because there's
Definitely. Look at the other ones. We believe we had a kind of a matrix. We put in, okay, we have forged aluminium, we have billet aluminium, and we have welded steel. And not going on fancy diameters, because that's what we did in the past. We actually machined pipes to different diameter, third wall thicknesses. That's nothing we do here, but
of course.
if you buy actually material and then reuse it, and you see the machine parts, the combination is the best for this car, I would say.
and all the bushings now are uniball or it's all uniball.
Uniball rubber seal, but kind of rigid.
And that's also to bring back to, let's say, the racing car for the road, because usually when you look at normal road cars, they have, let's say, different types of joints. These type of joints here, you would see them more, well, for sure on racing cars. Uniballs and rod ends is something that you don't see on normal road cars. And correct. This is, let's say.
I mean, some of the things are things you know,
Yeah.
and now you also have rigid attachments.
Yes.
But yeah, having this all over gives us a little more stiffness and reduces for sure the comfort. But that's kind of the compromise here. As we said, it's not a race car which is street legal, but at the end,
You want to have your
it's
racing
not an
DNA.
S-class comfort.
Of course.
But you can see, everybody can see now that HWA has put all the experience from various projects, be it the old DTM cars or the GT3, GT4 cars in that project.
This is really impressive. The attention level to detail.
Personally, I prefer moving everything in the center, just because of how I like the driving dynamics of a car. But this setup here gives you the benefit of both worlds, because you have, you know, the 50-50
Traction in the rear.
traction in the rear, but then you keep the space for a road car, which is
Yeah, and 4 seats actually.
Yeah.
That's very unique.
but yeah.
Very well thought of.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is stainless steel, but there might be also options with titanium later on. I mean, to be fair, this is the first prototype. We have a lot of ideas as options in our head, but you think, you know, you can understand these things have to be developed, and then they are actually costs. And if you get the cost backs by selling this, that's kind of the trade-off. And we would like to keep it simple for now, because we just want to make sure that this car works properly. And if then there are options available, that's an add-on.
Can we take a look at this, because you have a full drive-some system, right?
Yeah, that's totally new.
And also this, of course, this bracket is not, let's say, something you can find
No,
somewhere.
no, that's actually developed.
And I've seen rest modes, I've seen the different types of level, and usually you don't see cast parts. When you start seeing cast parts is when you start doing stuff how it should be, so at OEM spec. And this piece is very, very, very beautiful.
Yeah, that's actually the third position. Like normally you have the gearbox here, and then you have the attachment there. We now have 2 engine mounts here and there, and that's the third one to have the engine stable. Actually, since we are building 100 cars, it is very quickly a gain on costs if we do castings.
Of course.
But you're right. Actually, in the prototype casting, you have to be safe.
Yeah.
But that's why what we also say. I mean, our engineers, they know what they do. We're very proud of them. And especially here on the dry sump, we have a lot of experience. And complete new oil system. That is because we wanted to have a very low installation height as well.
And the pump it's included in the let's say belly pan of the engine, which is not usually an aftermarket system. Even in racing application, you see the pump. It's let's
External
say
piece,
external.
yeah.
This is all very compact and
Correct.
as you should do it.
And that's actually something maybe Martin and I question sometimes. You know, why can't we use an off-the-shelf, let's say, aftermarket piece? But to be fair, you see the surrounding. It's very small, narrow.
Yeah.
First of all, second, our engineers they actually came up with a very good solution, and now it's a multi-piece system. But it's working, yeah.
But everybody can do, you know, take it and bolt it up and then figure it out.
But the cool part is that this is something also what I always admire about engineering projects is when you have attention to detail that you actually will never see, unless you take the car apart or put it on the lift.
That's why we are happy that we can show it to you, because nobody will later on see this pump.
Yeah.
And the effort we are doing into that pump, it's actually almost 70 pieces just made for that car.
And there are lots of errors, as you can see. Our clients and need to understand, or we want them to understand what they get, what we do here.
Yeah.
Because if you start, okay, from the concept, let's have a transaxle. Okay, that's the first one, and then you entering in an endless
It's a cascade.
A, B, C step, and okay, what do you need? Also from the commercial point of view, but as you can see, we did a lot, a lot to the car.
Sorry, but I geek out.
Please,
but,
come on.
Yeah.
But for example, the whole, let's say, how you call it?
Front frame or
front frame goes all attached to the basically almost middle of the car. which in terms of rigidity, it aids a lot because usually you would have, let's say, the frame finishing here and then you have problems with torsion
it's all
stability.
the integrated thing, rear and back.
And this gives another statement that the car is, let's say, not, you know,
A resto-mod.
a resto mod.
No, because we always have in our mind, okay, we're gonna probably have some versions of this car that's gonna race.
Hey! Amazing.
As Gordy said, I mean, it's easily said, 3 mounting points. Yeah, but that also means because of the integration, you can change it very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very quickly. Of course, you can.
Yeah, I see this.
But
You left some room. Some room.
Yeah.
of course we did.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm glad that you like it and that you see actually also from your engineering
This is
perspective.
at a certain point we stop talking
Yes.
restaurant.
Yes. What's the roadmap of this project? Because it's being assembled now.
So we will have 6 prototypes. You have number 1, number 2 you've seen, number 3 you've seen.
Being built.
So we would start production and hand over to clients first quarter of 2026, but the start of production will be this year. We're going to go for a steep curve for the homologation. So the base homologation needs to be done in September. So we put a lot of capacity, a lot of power into the project. But as you can see, I mean, we can go to another impressive area.
Let's do that.
New area, and you can see the harness and
What we do with this car, actually, just to go into more detail.
Very
the time
detailed, okay.
schedule, this car will actually be installed on a 4-post with
Okay.
KW. KW and H&R Springs, they're working together here in this project with us. And we are putting this car on a 4-post.
Yeah.
And after that, are we allowed to say that?
Yeah,
Goes
sure.
to Bosch then?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we are proud of having Bosch Engineering as our partner here, and they need cars for ESP and ABS application. And that's why
another
the
thing.
setup of the suspension has to be done up front. Yeah?
We are also using our old relationships, the long-term 20 years of racing relationships. So
Which are difficult to get.
Also and difficult to get, and you need to afford them. Right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, talking with Bosch or working with Bosch, that's like premium.
Yeah.
A Brembo brake system, XY. This is
Impressive.
so all the ingredients, all the partners, we work for years. Everything comes together again. You can see now the next artist. Is
Ooh,
trying
the
to
wiring.
build the wiring.
Nice.
This is why I call them artists.
Yes.
If you.
So this is the nervous system of the car.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can see, let's say, more standard connectors, but also more motorsport versions of them. You have the quick joints.
It's a mixture. It's not really like crazy expensive Deutsch systems or something, but it's a mixture out of systems we know.
This is car number 2, and this is car number 3.
Oh yeah.
In boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, here you see still the big machine front end components where we attach actually then the suspension. That's the extension of the chassis. This is the assembling and bringing together the bits and pieces to later on build up prototype 3 here. These 3 hoists.
Yeah.
And this place actually will be there to have all the 6 prototypes being controlled in this room later on during the testing phase. So here's what we actually, the feedback on driving, the feedback on failures, whatever will come in here.
Yep.
And then will spread into the company to improve.
The clients, they are invited to come here anytime. So we have an open house policy here. So once you board a car, you can come anytime and see what we're doing.
That's nice.
So they join the journey.
That's very
They
nice.
already do.
Yeah.
We told them you're going to be part of the family, and this is what we will live. So we're even involving our clients in the HWA Christmas parties or whatever. This is what we did already.
I think
this
that's
is
the
how we wanna-
authenticity we can offer.
Yeah.
We don't bend ourselves into crazy luxury, whatever you think is luxury, but we think luxury is quality and being part of that, and that's what we want to bring into the
Yeah.
project.
That's the best type of customer relationship you can get.
For the EVO prototype, we need to have more space. This is why we.
Yeah. Move everything.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good place. Actually, combining workshop and people with engineers, that's the best approach. If you separate them, that's not really the way it should be.
Yeah.
That's why the engineers upstairs.
And I recently said we need to have the highest possible level of communication.
Yes.
This is also why the prototype loom is now built where the prototypes will build up.
Yeah.
So have the communication between the electricians, the mechanics, the engineers, blah, blah, blah.
Everybody knows what's going on.
Everybody needs.
Will you invite the customers actually to drive the prototypes before they?
Not sure yet, but we will of course have a passenger seat
Yes.
and we'll demonstrate them what their car will
Yeah, be able to do.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a masterpiece we developed here, and we also built so far 30 times an engine from white sheet of paper, just bespokely developed and designed for Pagani, HWA. It's a fully structural engine, so it's actually mounted to the monocoque as a rear end of the chassis. And on the engine you also have the gearbox. The gearbox actually fits to the suspension, so all the forces of the suspension are actually guided through the engine. So we don't have a rear subframe or something. Reduces weight, but also is complicated because if you can imagine if this bends just tenths of a millimeter or hundreds of a millimeter, you don't want this. So
Yesterday you said you're enjoying designing something without any regulation.
Yeah.
This is the same.
Yeah.
So the engine was just Olace Pagani came to us and said, let's have the most emotional engine built.
And you
No
can
technical relation, no homologation, no road legality. Just go for it and listen to the sound. Go to the internet and listen to the sound.
It's all in the headboard at the end.
Exactly.
So 900
So we are really,
horsepower,
really
naturally
Yeah.
aspirated, and integrated throttle bodies in the cylinder head. That's
Wow.
kind of
So this is what you would see in more of, let's say, early 2000 F1 cars when they have the cylinder barrels.
Yeah.
They still have it. Yeah. So usually you have throttle bodies which is they're bladed, or you would have a slide throttle which
Yeah.
would be used more.
Guillotine.
In stuff.
underneath those red covers. You have drums, and the drums are machined in a way that if you turn them, you can see the valves completely. So there's no axle, nothing.
Exactly. Which is good for high-end power, but then for, let's say, speed
In
up engine,
between,
it's
that's kind of tricky. But that's not how it is made for. It's made for emotions.
exactly.
And especially for high up revving, you know, it's like very lightweight components. There's no chain, it's gear driven
You
camshafts.
see the clutch. That's, for example, when you reduce the rotating mass, you can have that free revving, let's say, system that everybody in the aftermarket world is trying to recreate. But then you need to go to this kind of stuff where it's, let's say, the engineering part is difficult because all the, let's say, all the forces that gets transmitted, you need to calculate them really well. It's easy to make a part that is strong enough. It's difficult to make it
Small.
Yes.
Small
Lightweight.
and functional.
Exactly.
What's the red line?
Below 10,000.
Yeah, that's a good number. I like it.
The funny thing on this engine is, not the funny thing, but actually one of the engineering targets was also we would like to have the best sounding engine. So and at some point we decided to have a special crankshaft and a firing order, and that's why it sounds like you have double the rev. So it sounds like you have 20,000 RPMs.
The 2-liter turbo engine.
Do you have a spare one? No? Okay. Just asking, you know.
Unfortunately, we did not get a second year with this project because in the peak power it was far more than competitive. I would say it was competitive, absolutely. We
Yeah,
missed
development was there.
We missed a bit of drivability. That's for sure. So the second year would have given us the drivability and also a bit more.
I think let's explain a little bit about the gear-driven scenario because it's something that not the most of the, let's say, enthusiasts don't know.
Yeah,
There's a
normally
difference.
you have a chain system going
Or a
around
belt.
and connecting actually the camshafts and the crankshaft. There you see a lot of weight, you see kind of a backlash, all these kind of things, and you can minimize that with gears. And anytime you see such a plug here, we have an axle where a gear is on.
So this gives free range, let's say, more potential for revving the engine up to speed because it's more reliable. There is no, let's say, play in the delay exactly. And it's as always with racing, you look also at reliability and ultimate performance. And let's say the gears gives that to the max. You could see those in diesel engines, but that's for another reason.
Yeah, I think it's also a masterpiece because at that time in the regulation the fuel was limited.
Yes.
And you had a fuel restrictor restricting the fuel for the high pressure pump, and we had to make the best out of the fuel.
injected.
It's direct injected, yeah. So that was kind of interesting because we were running really extremely lean, and so the exhaust temperature was above 1,000 degrees.
Which caused problem operating, running the car. So the heat was the main ruling
Yeah, at some point you normally,
reliability.
The turbo would have loved that.
Exactly.
but you sometimes at some point you normally cool with fuel, right?
Yes.
And if you don't have enough fuel, you can't cool with fuel, so you start cooling with
Not to
air.
say that. That normally you cool with fuel. But
Hey, bumps and bangs.
Okay, here we actually have one of the first engines running with our ECU. So it took some while to actually program the base codes and all the functions we needed. It's nothing you can carry over or something, so it's complete new. And that's actually also our goal. We wanted to really unleash the engine from being a mass production system to a very, very emotional engine now. Because clients also ask us, okay, I don't want to have an electric motor feeling or a torque curve which goes like this. I would like to have emotion, maybe a little bit of a power, a turbo lag, you know, like
some surge.
you would like to push at some point, and makes it a little bit unpredictable. And these kind of things you can't do with a normal ECU. So this is kind of the goal, having the engine being more a beast than a robot.
So this is where the engine is tested and gets the HWA treatment with the turbos and the tri-sump. So there's a new complete new turbo system. We have the tri-sump already here, and here you can see how it's actually the perfect engine for that car to bring it low with a tri-sump. It's a small engine.
Yes.
And the
So-
bank angle of 60 degree makes it also kind of
Very
low.
compact. Yeah.
When we were discussing what is the perfect engine for the project, here it is, because it's small, it's narrow, and with the HWA treatment you can have it below, or very low, and behind the front axle.
We haven't spoken about the numbers yet. So what's the target of the engine?
I mean, also here we think we kind of operate and develop a little bit different than others. On our case is if we talk about a power number, that's a number you can run full throttle and the engine is stable. It's not getting hotter, it's not getting hotter. So normally you say, oh, I have 600-700 horsepower, but you can just use it for a couple of minutes, let's say, or
Yes.
seconds actually.
Yes.
What we do here is we run the full power until we get into a stable system, temperature-wise and everything. So that means
So it's constant load, basically.
constant
full
load.
power.
You're talking about more than
We're not
15
talking
minutes.
about
No.
10-second peak
No,
power.
15 minutes and all is stable. And
It's not even like a lap of the Nürburgring. It's a continuous climb from
Correct.
Kassel climb
then
non-stop.
we actually can change the air intake temperatures. And we also go to a quite high temperature because we think people from warmer countries, they also would like to have the same power. It's not
We
just
want to
in
go
the
back
cold.
to those.
So we see that cars actually reducing power when you get into hot areas. So that's why we can actually adjust the air intake temperature here and also the cooling, and this is what we do here. But yeah, again, this is the first engine. Over there we're going to show you the next dyno where we completely install a full powertrain, and there is other engines already running at other dynos, not in-house here.
So in total we have 4 dynos, and we're going to show you now the transition.
So the power will be probably like what, about 500-ish horsepower?
Yeah, the engine is good for that. We're currently offering the car with 450, but 450 means stable power, as explained.
And we need to mention the weight, of course.
Yeah, the weight overall is also something we are considering to be very low. For sure, not as low as the original car. That was 1350, and at that time you didn't put a driver inside. And now, if you compare dry weight, there's already driver, a fuel, which has to be 90% of your capacity, and these kind of things. But yeah, I would say the numbers will be very interesting, and the ratio for sure and
Yeah.
weight distribution.
Yeah, most importantly, the drivability of the whole platform.
Correct.
That would be nice.
That
Yeah.
turbo setup, sorry, but that turbo setup is really, really nice. How compact it is, because
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of big actually. It looks now very small, but compared to the original ones, the tiny ones, you have a 1.5 liter 3-cylinder here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we wanted to have some margin later on, you know.
yeah,
So
all well
it's-
integrated with the wastegate and
Yeah. That's what we
Very
also
nice
did
to
with
know.
the partner together, so that there's actually people who have the knowledge with us together and then bring it into reality. This is one of the very first prototypes here.
We are preparing now our transient dyno to have the full powertrain, gearbox, everything tested here. This is the transient dyno.
Ja, es geht so. Es geht so, wir lassen es so.
dynamic, so we can simulate and replicate any circuit, including any slip condition.
Wow.
Even ABS or curb riding can be simulated here quite accurate. So yeah, this system has been used quite a while and has been developed for us, and we are very proud to actually put our own powertrain of the HWA EVO on this fantastic dyno.
Wow, that's really next level.
Okay, so this is ongoing. That's a place where we want to rebuild and actually have a spec room for clients, but also showing the car so you actually have a feeling of what it is. And what we have built here is the so-called interior test bed. Just to explain up front, this is kind of a setup where we would like to define ergonomics and actually the seating positions and actually think about how do we do. So what we see here is actually the first CAD data which we put into reality, and we already had some workshops around the interior to change, but that's the base we started on. So
Nice.
maybe you have a seat.
Wow. Very nice.
So what you see here is more or less, yeah, let's say design mock-up, and we are working on the design of the steering. It's a little bit too modern at the current stage, what we believe. What has actually been planned is to have a digital cluster, but not really, as you know from modern cars, a three-dimensional system. It's more or less very simple, and the beauty around this is we can change that constantly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
I was afraid when I asked earlier if the cluster going to be digital, if it's going to be too modern and really like kill the vibe of the
And
whole
how
car.
do you like it then?
I like it now. It's
Okay.
it's because it's the replica of the original,
Cool, yeah.
and it looks very nice. It's actually
Yeah, I mean, as I said, there is already a lot of things being changed, but in general, we want like to keep this old school style, the shape. But just to understand, even these parts, what you see here, is not carryover. It's everything is different. This is not what you have on the original car. We would like to have some decent music as well, and yeah, adjustments of this. This one is
Oh, wow.
also possible to.
oh that's
to
very good. That's
Yeah.
very close to the driver.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And you can imagine, I mean, pedals
Yep.
and shifters. Switches are actually currently kind of base switches, but we also believe that at some point people will probably drive the car with a glove on the track or something. And you also would like to reach out to the knobs. They shouldn't be too small, and that's the idea.
Yeah, and the fact that you kept the actual the aircon HVAC
In the
controls.
styles, it's actually
That's the
not
most
the
important
original
thing.
one because they had like
Yeah.
mechanical
but
connections.
the feel of mechanical, it's I like it a lot.
This is impressive. I like the driving position a lot.
The more you move forward, the higher you go. So you don't have a height adjustment.
Oh, he fits.
Yeah.
Chest day, bro.
The steering adjustment, you need something?
It's somewhere underneath. Yeah. Oh, that can come very close. That's like really race car spec. I would even go a bit more back for the pedals. This is really impressive because this is for me the perfect driver position when it comes to being a driver. You can come very far to the back as a tall person to have the perfect pedal control, but with that, especially with old cars, the biggest drawback is not having the adjustability of the steering wheel, which is either related to the steering column or you name it. But in this case, the adjustability, like most of the people will drive probably like this, or like this, which you shouldn't be doing. You need to have as least tension as possible in your hands, in your elbows. If you look at professional race car drivers, the steering wheel is almost like here, like they're kind of doing this because the input is minimum, because you need to be as relaxed as possible. This is perfect. Very impressed, because that's for me always the biggest make or break Quite often when I drive cars on the ring, I also say, okay, car might not have been as good, but I love the seating position so much that I love the car because of that. Because that's at the end of the day what gives you the emotion while driving the car, and therefore that's a very important feature. Also, are the seats kind of like the final design of the seats, or what is the...
The seat actually we picked here is not almost the final design. The integrated harness is something we definitely want to keep, but kind of the shape.
But in terms of like the support?
Yeah, the support will be probably like this.
No, that I love it, because already right now you have enough comfort, yet at the same time also enough support. So you can go to the track, and with additional support for your legs, you will have even more support, and you can throw it around the corners even more. I love it.
And sure, stitchings and material and these kind of things are options. That's not something you would consider as a driver, let's say race driver. But yeah, in this case, there is options to have individualizations.
Yeah,
so
for
this
sure.
is something where I still can normally sit.
Yeah.
And then in the back, you have some freedom. For sure, it's not like you wouldn't go for a travel for 4 hours or something, but carrying people, even adult people, somewhere, that's possible.
But would you offer ISOFIX on the rear?
We have to. It's mandatory because of new regulation 2026. You have to have ISOFIX in the rear.
Yeah, there we go. So that's, I mean, baby in the back, body in the front, kind of. Don't take your baby to the track unless it's just spectating. And think of hearing protection. No, the driving position for me, that was like really, really good. We actually went back to one of the previous rooms to have a sit in the original 190 EVO. So let's hop inside. First of all, you see a massive steering wheel, and I wonder what the adjustability of that is. Probably there's like no adjustability in the steering column at all, I would assume. So yeah, there's nothing underneath. No, so that's all you get. So you really need to be really either far away from the steering wheel if you're tall and you want to operate the pedals, or if you go closer.
The biggest problem is the wheel. I mean,
It's actually,
on the legs.
yeah, you cannot do like proper heel and toe because the knee is like bouncing up against it. So yeah, big compromise. Oh, look at that, there was actually ABS light back in the days already. Okay, so now I moved forward and I'm better with operating the pedals on the original car, but there's no way we could do heel and toe because of the steering wheel. And steering wheel is completely non-adjustable, so I'm still a bit too far back. Maybe I can move the seat a bit forward. And now I'm still too high, so there's like way too much compromise. There's no way you could wear a helmet either because you're way too close to the roof. Yeah, it has a menacing looks. Looks is one of the best looking cars you can think of, but the seating position is completely the opposite spectrum of the story. Whereas the new car is fantastic, from what I felt in the mock-up. I cannot heel and toe because my knee is completely locked in. The steering position is okay, but again, if I need to steer or correct, my hands are bumping against the steering wheel here. This car was really not made for tall people. There's like no way this can be performance driven. I mean, that's kind of summarizes it.
The employees, they build up a club to run simulators in-house. We don't use them currently. It's not fancy systems, but it's actually...
It's not fancy?
No, the one you should have seen the other one we have installed.
Yeah.
This is actually more or less to train young people and driver how to communicate, how to have procedures done. That's the intention here. And for sure getting to know the track, but it's not the realistics that you actually have on a proper car. But the time on the track is so expensive, and that's why you would like to be sure that everything is clear before you go there.
Yeah. I think that's where we're gonna end up, having like a control room for our sim. Hey, Novus, hook us up.
Yeah, we need to step it up.
So that's chassis engineering department, guys from calculation, and then we actually divide in two parties. One is more or less surface-based engineering, and then mechanical engineering.
On the right screen we have a full car simulation with the whole car, currently testing if the new version of this part which is supposed to be a different material, is sufficient for what we're doing right now. And on the left side, I'm currently building a new version of the cage. Yeah, that is going to be tested as well with the frontal crash. So we have to do one frontal crash for the homologation. And we're doing a bit more with trying to find out what our chassis is actually capable of. But that's like our main focus for frontal crash testing.
Do you do the simulation with everything assembled with individual pieces? And then
Both. So like in this kind of development, you start out with a smaller scale, so to say. So we started out with the frontal structure that we literally have here as well. With the frontal structure and the rear structure, and those were parts that were actually tested so you can validate the simulation. And then you go on to bigger and bigger models, and this is like one of the latest models we have with full chassis in it, with the windows in it and so on. So you have all the necessary stiffnesses in the model, but it's still kind of simplified so that it runs well. But the main structure is there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Martin, vielen Dank.
Yep.
These guys now are doing the drawings to actually order components. And yeah, you can design whatever you like, but at the end the manufacturer has to know what quality he has to deliver, and actually we are defining tolerances and materials and these kind of things, and therefore we're still doing 2D drawings in addition to the 3D CAD model. Yeah, that's an interesting area. Maybe you can have a look at this.
Come up to you guys.
That's the side skirt actually, and the front wheel arch vent. And just to show that the wheel arch vent is not just a simple design feature, it's actually a functional system. So we can get hot air out of the wheel arch because of brake, and you know that's crucial to actually cool down brakes. So yeah, that's all also not just designed in a way in the CAD, but also being simulated with CFD up front.
And that's already Class A surface?
It should be in the end, of course, because it's a really nice detail to look at in the end when you look at the car. You can look at the tire from here, like there's no
Fence or,
like a fence.
or whatever inside a mesh or something.
Yeah,
So
you
it's
can
a-
look straight through the tire, and it's also quite good for driving if you have the ventilation there for kind of aerodynamics reasons.
Yeah.
So this will be a nice detail in the end. So we're looking forward to this.
This video of Kyza showed up in the internet while he was doing a video while he was modifying a 190 into something.
Oh, yeah.
And then we said, what is happening here? So we immediately called him and said, hey, happy to see what you're doing. We're actually doing something like this.
Yeah.
And he was like, what? It was just to show my
Coincidence,
capabilities in
yeah.
designing. And then we ended up starting something here. I'm very proud of him having on board and doing the initial design. For sure, you see things have changed then, but it was the initial support of him
That's very cool.
actually presenting our shareholders the idea, and that was
That was actually very nice, because then you could introduce the classic to the modern audience. Let's
and you
say.
can imagine, I mean, especially Hans Werner, he's 86 now.
Yeah.
He didn't really see that this car is
Still popular.
popular because
Yeah.
it's old. What do you think? And so, yeah, it's old, but actually people like it. And,
Yeah.
and it explains the story of HWA quite well, because in the late 80s, beginning 90s, we were a racing team, let's say. For sure we did modify our road cars, but it was a smaller company at that time. And with the DTM and the 190 EVO, the cooperation and collaboration in between AMG and Mercedes, that went into a solid system. And as you know, from 1995 on, where the first official AMG car was able to purchase at the dealers, that was the C36. That was then actually the goal when we were working together very strongly. So yeah, it all started with the 190 and the DTM.
Yeah, very cool. And it starts again, in a way.
We really wanna make these type of projects. The EVO is the first one, but there should be a longer chain of own products, own cars, to become one of the central pillars of HWA's business in the future.
Of course.
This is what we have.
It makes sense. I mean, from everything we've seen, you're doing everything by the book from the OE perspective even. This is not... You're doing, I would say, even too much for 100 versions of cars. This means that there must be some sort of future behind it while you're doing it in such a way.
Yeah, you're saying we're doing more for the 100 cars,
Yeah.
but we also we calculated with more cars.
Yes.
And where to start and where to stop. People and clients, they expect this type and this level of engineering into the cars, because the insider, they know that the CLK DTM, for example, was done at HWA. So of course they do expect something similar. You can't deliver less.
But it's also the way you operate,
Exactly.
the way you work. You cannot be like, oh no, we're gonna downgrade now because we can make a quick buck on this.
I feel invited, but help. Can we really slow down an engineer who has done race cars the last 25 years? No, you can't.
I think everyone's gonna quit if you
Of
tell
course,
them.
of course, you always have to. Of course, you always have to have a look on the commercial side. And, and I can say, it's an expensive car, but what you get, and 100 cars with this type and with level of engineering, it's not a lot of money. To be 100% clear, my opinion.
Of course.
So the value for money, and also with the exclusivity, it's
very affordable.
I would say so.
And you're totally right. I mean, doing this now up front is, as you said, Martin, it's not a one-off and then we do something else. It's the plan that we are doing these kind of cars in the future as well.
So this project is also an investment in HWA future. I mean, you would not develop your own ECU with Bosch for a single shot of 100 cars. You would never do that. That would be.
I'm thinking of also maybe like outsourcing the technology, giving it some.
Probably. I mean, our core business is now business to business, and we are moving to business to client, but also business to business should move forward, and that's why we do the project as well, to showcase our capabilities.
Once you have your own ECU, you have something to offer. In combination with our powertrain and the skills to develop some nice engines, then road legal engines, this is something to offer, of course.
Just like a complete plug and play.
Here we are,
engine.
exactly in the field of the investment into the future.
You've seen some of the smaller models already, right? So.
Yeah. It's good that we bought the 190E. Not just the budget.
For me, this is a kind of a startup, but we are not a startup. We have 270 people here in Falderbach, but the project coming out of the corner as the hidden champion and with their own product. This is the startup part of our business.
Of course.
But as you've seen, it is the central part of our business at the moment.
It is
there
right
are
now.
a lot of people involved, and we are.
Which is very impressive.
And we said that we want to make it feel good. So as you said, the expectation of clients will be, okay, the car has to be driven quite well, and it has to feel good, and it has to have certain performance. And that's all about driving and drivers, and that's where you're also coming from, and what is your daily business. So that's why we are very glad that you had a look at it. And
so the drivability and the car performance is one thing, but we also can say for our biggest customer in the past, which was Mercedes and Mercedes AMG, for them and for us, that was like crystal clear, safety first. So we can say that at all of our race cars, safety was the highest priority. And I think we benchmarked a lot of ages.
no, definitely.
I would say.
What are some of the targets you had for the beginning of the project? You mentioned 15 minutes under full load for the engine, for example. Some projects are aiming for a specific lap time, or like in...
It was not the goal to develop a record breaker. We have proven that we have cars which are much faster and quicker, but at the end, that was not the goal. It was the goal to actually use the kind of the style out of the 90s. Actually, as I explained before, the story about the 190 is very crucial for the company. And we wanted to see and bring this era into a modern day car.
Yeah, but honestly, this was more or less an idea of Gordon, and then in this office or in your office, we started having a discussion. Okay, as proper car guys, as proper car enthusiasts, also we love the pre-merger AMG and the colleagues that have built the pre-merger AMG at these days, they are still here, or some of them.
That's amazing.
So and then you start to discuss, and then of course in our responsibility for the company in its future, you say, okay, what can we do? And then it becomes obvious, okay, who else in the world can tell that story better than us?
You can clearly tell that. You can clearly see that. It's It's very interesting already.
Because
What
we are in a Falterbar, we have the name, we have Mr. Aufrecht, we have this experience. So Gordy, you started in 2006. Myself started in 2003.
So we have
here
kind of a
later.
history in the company as
So
well.
we have our own history. Also, we come from racing, so that was okay. Yeah, Western mode. Quickly, we said, no. What is in our head is not a Western mode.
Yeah.
It's
a brand new
different.
car.
It's something. It's an HWA car. Looks like something.
It's a start.
That's the start, and then you sit there, and then you start discussing.
And then it snowballs. And then there is no way back.
And then no way back. And then you start. You have to convince your supervisor, because we shareholder company. So
Of course.
you have to convince people that this should be a part of HWA's future. Then the numbers come into the field, and then you start calculating, and then you have to have a look at the commercial side, technical side. Lots of evenings, lots of discussions, not only between us. The team is getting bigger. The supervisor and the shareholders, they want to see something, and then they finally agreed, and then you have a point of no return.
Yeah.
And this is what you've seen.
Yes.
But then you see that there is a
In
lot of
workshop.
clients who haven't seen the car yet and being willing to, I need a car like this. And the feedback we got out of the field and the clients, that gives us then actually the confidence to say, yeah, that's what we do actually. And yeah, I think we can say that we are very happy that most of the cars, of the 100 cars, are being, or we have reservations for most of the cars. A big portion of that is already pre-sold, and yeah, we are on a good way here. And yeah, we are building up the first 3 prototypes, and I think when we show them and you see them driving on tracks and roads,
Industry pool coming up.
Of course,
Yes.
This is so. We haven't agreed on the final number of mileage we want to go. I think we are 2,000, 3,000 Ks. I don't know.
oh, on the Nürburgring we have to go
Yeah.
more than 10,000 probably.
Yes.
I'm sure you could feel it. I love the atmosphere at the moment in the company. I mean, the
Yeah.
car industry is in difficult times at the moment,
Yep.
but this project has brought a very, very positive atmosphere back in the staff. I mean, you can see them; they are proud.
Yeah. That's always nice when the whole company has a common
Exactly.
goal.
Even very, very experienced mechanics, in that way. I mean, they experienced a lot strange things with us, so
Yeah.
crazy things, I would say. And now they love it again, because it's cool. It's cool to be part of this prototype build and the future.
Yeah.
And this is the atmosphere we all can feel again here.
If you would describe your average client of the 190 EVO, who would it be?
You should do that. You have more direct contact. The average is there average?
Is there an average?
No, it's really
They're not
different.
average.
But what I can say, all of them have in common that they like Mercedes. They kind of know our portfolio and what we have done. And that's why that's the goal, to explain to more people what we have done and why this product is so good. But the current clients, they kind of know what we do. They like Mercedes. They have some history with the 190, and they are fully hooked up. So we have people, they didn't see the design, and they were already, I take the car. And yeah, now that we are getting more into reality, there's a lot more people now. So we are very happy. But yeah, they all see and understand the technology. That's what you can say.
So where do you go from here?
Where we go from here?
Yeah. What are the next?
Yeah, for sure. As
big
we
dreams?
said, that there is going to be a next model. We have to think about what is the best. We already have good ideas, I guess, and now we have to steer. First of all, I think we have to execute. We are in the middle of the process of building the cars, and it's not that we can leave our hands off. We focus on the project right now. We want to bring it into reality. We would like to hand over the best product we can do, and time is.
I'm really looking forward to the testing phase, having the car on the Nordschleife. It's a test pool, an industrial pool, like you say, but having some professional race drivers back as well as amateurs, because you need to have both. You
Yes.
need to have the pros. You need the feedback from the absolute professional, but also from the amateur or young professional and the daily user. So you have to have the feedback from the whole
Possible
group of people.
And that's actually quite interesting territory you're entering now, because in the past you were focused just on race cars. It needs to be fastest.
Half of my career, I was dealing and working with the pros, the absolute pros.
It needs to be just the fastest.
And now it's a bit different.
And
exactly.
now it needs to be some sort of comfort.
Exactly.
Infotainment.
Now you don't have to have the fastest, but this is what I'm personally looking forward, going back and kind of race and test the car.
Yeah, that's nice.
And that's very soon.
Yeah. So what's the first plan? Where are you guys going?
I mean, first of all, the 3 first cars will be a handover to Bosch Engineering. They do ABS, ESP, but also the engine application together with us. And then we will also have shakedown tests, Hockenheim and other places where we can go. So the next couple of months will be very exhausting, I guess, to find out what we have to improve or what we can still leave. So what we still have to change, that's what I wanted to say. So yeah, interesting times ahead.
Yeah. When it comes to ABS and TC, I mean, it's essentially a race car.
Yeah.
But it's a road car. So you're gonna have road tires. But will you have an option maybe to mount a full slicks and then go on the track and then have different calibration settings?
Well, I think you know us now for 24 hours. No, not. So, but I think it's crystal clear that this is going to be possible.
Yeah.
There is a lot of room in the development for doing such things.
Nice.
So in our head, in my head, is always the racing perspective. It's in it, and if you look at the car, you don't have to add a lot more to race it.
Yeah. Bucket seats, fire extinguishers.
So the car is surely track ready.
Yeah.
That's now already, but to race them in a competition, you don't have to add a lot.
Yeah. Might come something for clients.
Let's see what the future brings.
Yeah. Will be interesting. I'm excited for it. So the first deliveries are scheduled for 2026?
Correct. So we are building those cars within 2 years, 26 and 27. Currently we are planning to build 1 car per week.
So when's the first test drive?
That's definitely within this year. So let's see if we can come together.
No, the first test drive, I think, it should start April, May.
Yeah.
This is what I have in my mind.
Yeah.
So how I plan on the calendar at the moment, my personal also. So May, we'll have some cars on tracks and roads. And
what's the most important feature for you that you incorporate in the car for the driver emotion, feedback, and involvement in this car?
It's always a combination, Misha. It's always a combination. I mean, you've seen it starting with the packaging of starting with the transaxle, braking, rate distribution, center of gravity, XYZ. It's always the combination that everything is there. So of course, with the body and the dimensions, you are limited, but you're also unlimited because we put ourselves in the position to have no limits, no compromise, except the dimensions somehow to keep the design.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's not the particular key performance indicator of the car. It's always
everything.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about the car after seeing it as well, because there is not like, lots of power,
of course,
it has a manual gearbox, or it has this, it has everything, actually.
We had the discussion yesterday. Of course, the car will not be aerodynamically over-engineered because you have the design and this is what we want to keep. Somehow, Gordy scaled the car, so the dimensions are a bit different, but it looks like it should look like.
Yes.
And this gives you, especially from the design side, you're aerodynamically limited, but there's a flaw.
And as we know, the floor is the
cool.
And
this is design neutral, I would say.
Exactly.
So this is.
Yeah, I mean, as Martin said, combination, braking stability. You would like to have the power should be nice. The car has to be stiff. You know the things about cars. Yeah. From what you told us, and I'm very impressed. Driving 400 different cars a year on the Nürburgring. You have a big variety, and I don't think there's so many people who have the possibility to do so.
Yeah.
And that's why it was also
You're quite unique in that.
I think so. Yes. It's. I don't know that there are that many people in the world who have this. Maybe some people have more laps or had more laps under their belt on the ring.
Or
Or
maybe then
a
they
bit
are
faster, but
like cooperating with an OEM, so
yeah,
they
and they're focused on one particular car.
Correct.
And then they get into something else, and then they don't know how to work with it.
and that's why we really would like to talk about more detail about what would you say is the perfect combination out of comfort and driving performance, but that's actually what we want to offer, and that's why I think further discussions, further cooperations and meetings are just necessary. And logic, right?
Definitely would love to be part of that, especially when if I get the opportunity to test drive the car and to give you some feedback of what I like, and because now I also personally I have the opportunity to go into the modern cars, but I'm stepping back to the more old school because then that's what you're also offering with the today's technology, with the know-how to actually give this driver involvement, driver feedback. But at some point it also needs to be a compromise, like for a daily driven car, but everything needs to be still there. So the pedal feel, the brake pedal feel, the accelerator, the way the clutch, the shifter, how it is engaging, all of these small features, how the steering wheel reacting, the driver position that was able today to test, that was for me, like I said, sometimes the key component of any car.
Okay.
Like when I drive cars, the car can be like not that great performing on the track, but if the driver position is great, I'll be like, there's so little cars that get this right. Like nowadays, only from the driver perspective, the factory race cars, the works cars, they get it right. You have quite often the fixed seat, and you adjust the steering wheel very close to you. You have the adjustability for the pedals, and then you can have the perfect synergy. And that's what was able to achieve now, pretty much.
Good to know.
Thanks for the feedback.
That was
That's
for
good to
me.
hear.
For me, from the again, this is one of the most fundamentals from driving, that you need to have a good, comfortable position as a driver, and a lot of people overlook that, or they have like their own way of driving. With nothing wrong with that, but from like a perfect driver dynamics, the way if you're sitting comfortable in it, that's the most important thing, so you can have the proper feedback, because then you're relaxed, and then you can actually have your senses fixed on the way the car behaves. You're not fighting yourself back sitting in the steering wheel. You don't have tension in your arms, because you're relaxed and you're actually soaking in all the feedback that the car is giving you. So the basis is already very good there. Then we'll need to see the actual practical feature of that, and that will be
Very much looking forward.
We'll make that possible.
Yeah, me too. It's definitely interesting. Cool. Then of course comes all the haptic feedback, the emotional feedback. How does the engine sound on the front? How does the exhaust sound, but also the gearbox? You're gonna have the gear whine, you have the diff whine, at which RPMs, at which sound levels. What will special things
There's
do?
definitely a lot of questions. These kind of things we are not simulating for sure. And Hans Werner actually jumped in the other day and said, make sure that you don't have too much noise, because it's all carbon and you have to isolate. So yeah, he's right.
No doubt, in some areas we need to have a learning curve. And
Yes.
This has already started. But
course.
in terms of interior, okay, we did some road cars for
Yes.
our clients.
But those
so
clients
far.
were again mostly
But that was
full performance.
but exactly. This was but this part of the car production or car development was not the HWA part. We've been on the performance side. So there we need to have a learning curve. That's why it's good to hear that you are happy with the seat position.
Yeah.
So in terms of interior or noise design, we are, I wouldn't call us beginners, but of course we cannot say we have a 25-year experience in having a proper interior. Of course not.
More functional interiors,
our
reaching the
interior,
buttons.
Interior was kind of different, right? So how big the switch has to be to push it with a glove.
Yes.
And
what kind of
24
noise
hours,
it
so
makes.
everything needs to be visible at night and whatever. So
those are the small things you need to think about.
So the dominating factor was also in the interior, drivability and performance. Now it's something different, because the customer, the client expects something, especially for the road car, something luxury, nice haptic maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, I believe with this car you're going the right way. It should not be too much. If you like too much luxury.
No, it will be more or less the
For us, luxury
The
would
sporty
be
side.
quality in the place.
sporty side. It's
And again, we are down to earth, and I think we explained also our strategy in not telling something and then not delivering. So that's kind of the mindset we have set up for the car and also for the company.
Yeah, yes. I'm looking forward to seeing the in-between product, and then of course also the final product.
Improvement, yeah.
Because it's always interesting to follow the development of the car.
Feel invited.
Yeah.
Feel invited. As our clients, we wanna involve as many people, because we know we need to communicate. We need to tell people what we are doing.
Yeah, exciting. Well, looking forward to that.
Definitely.
Until next time.
Guys,
Awesome.
sorry
Thanks.
for rushing now
You
at
need
the
to-
end.
Don't worry,
I
you need to
to
run, of
in
course.
the car.
Yeah.
No, thanks for your visit.
Yeah.
And,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to
Yes.
meet you, and hope we can do
so
things
much.
together in the
back.
future.
I would love to.
Come back sooner
Definitely.
the better.
And I guess this is pretty much it. I am blown away by the level of detail, the attention for detail, all the engineering that goes behind low volume series as the very first HWA street car with its own bespoke car, with many more to follow most likely. It's been incredible, and the transparency and the level of trust that we have gotten and the information behind closed doors, it's something that really left me speechless. I guess I'm really curious to see if we'll have the opportunity to actually test drive the car, and I would really love the opportunity to drive the early prototype to then compare it with the final car to see the whole development behind it. So yeah, until then, thanks for watching, and once again thank you HWA for a very well warm and transparent welcome, and on to the next time.
Yeah.
How did you like it?
It was incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of inspiration, motivation.
Yeah, motivation.
Yeah, or
Motivation.
yeah.
It was pretty cool how they laid out everything, and to me the heritage was,
Yes.
yeah. And
We got some legacy newspaper. More on that later, maybe at some point. All right, let's go.